He's a Ghanaian activist, he's a politician, and he wants to be president. Sometime 2018, 2019, he expressed his interest in competing in 2020. Well, in 2024, he's on the ballot, he's number 10. He is also former CEO of the Progressive Alliance movement. I'm talking about none other than, have you guessed it yet? Kofi Koranteng, independent presidential candidate.
Number 10, and I tell you, listen, Medicas, you got to go to Medicas Hospital because guess what? They're number 10. It's this 10 thing, man. Something about 10 that makes it work. And
you could be Abedi Pele, you could be Eden Hazard, you could be Michael Owen.
Let me tell you. So
I hope you're not going to dribble Ghanaians if you become president.
Oh, absolutely not. It's quite the opposite. And that's why, listen, if we want to move forward in this country, and I want every Ghanaian for the few minutes that we're here to pay attention. That's what's going to happen today. It's going to tell you what you need to do going into December 7th. There's only one option for Ghana, number 10. And I'm proving it to you today, live and direct. It's an honor to be here, Benjamin. I have labored tirelessly to be here, and finally I get to sit with you. So I was hoping that this would not be a Q&A. I was hoping that, and then I get icing on the cake. Sweetie, on top of this thing, is like, what are you guys doing to me? This is too good. Sweetie.
Hi, Kofi Koranteng.
Hey.
Sweetie, is this your first interaction with Kofi Koranteng?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
But I've watched you. The most memorable one was on Newsfile. I think it was on the Galamsey issue, where you said the president and all the ministers should be arrested. And I thought, well, that's a very bold statement. So it's good to see you.
Don't you think? You know you're getting poisoned. Have you had breakfast this morning?
Yeah, well, no, it's Ghana water, so I hope not.
Well,
but
if it's Ghana water, then you have a bit of Galamsey in it. So when I say the president and the vice president, all the ministers for that fact, they should be arrested.
Well,
it's treasonous. To give us Galamsey is treasonous. And we all know that. But we live in an environment of vegetarian lions, so they can't bite.
Well,
enough for the broccoli. Let's move forward.
Now that you're talking about treason, we just want to pick your quick thoughts on this entire Supreme Court, Apex Court, Parliament, executive, judiciary saga that has played out. Yesterday by 5-2 decision, the court ruled. Some still insist, the Chachuchikatas, and I've seen a lot of legal luminaries say the Supreme Court had no business even getting there because per Article 99, it's the High Court. I've seen Manasseh Azure Awene post that, so the Chief Justice says there was a constitutional crisis, but we've had Sal on our conscience, Santo Kofi Akpafu, Likbe and Lolobi for. I mean, there are different angles. Others also say the Supreme Court got it spot on. Your thinking on that?
Listen, 5-2 was it means that there was a clear majority. And we go to Supreme Court for interpretation and they have interpreted. How it got there, that's their business. But if it's gone to Supreme Court and they have an interpretation and it's conclusive, then we have to move forward. Take it a stand to say it's not a crisis. I don't know how the Speaker could overrule what has come out of the Supreme Court. At least that's why we have a Supreme Court. So if it's a body that we go to at the highest of moments where there is confusion that we need their interpretation and they've given one, you can't then go back and say, well, I have a difference of opinion on the way that I stand. We have to move forward with this thing. But the more interesting thing is, Benjamin, the passion that they have at this merry-go-round thing. I think it's a merry-go-round because they never seem to have this amount of passion when it comes to corruption. How about this amount of passion when it comes to corruption? How about this amount of passion when it comes to let's find out the people who are mutilating our lands and poisoning our waters? How about that? I never seem to see a passion like that. This is the struggle of the titans. They're going at each other, they're talking. Why don't we see the same display in Parliament when it comes to issues concerning Ghanaians? Is this thing about majority?
LI 2462, for example, which has allowed people to mine in forest reserves.
Well, there you go.
Since
So,
you're talking of parliament.
you know what I'm saying? So we're talking about a parliament that, personally, you don't want to hear my views on this parliament. It's the most useless parliament. Okay.
The eighth parliament is the most useless
it
parliament.
is.
Why?
Yeah, don't look at me like, listen, who said it? And Peony said it, right? And he knows more than me, so I go by what he
No,
said.
but why do you think?
Because they haven't done anything. They haven't positioned themselves for the benefit of Ghanaians. Ultimately, that's what their mandate is. How, you tell me how Ghanaians have benefited from this parliament. Tell me one thing, please.
You
They have held
acknowledge-
government to account on a number of issues, including on tax issues, tax handles.
It's
and
funny
all
how
that.
Ghanaians love to dribble. When you say they've held Ghana, to what result though? See, that's the one thing nobody looks at. Ultimately, we're looking for a favorable result that benefits the Ghanaian. Have we conclusively maneuvered this whole process for the Ghanaian to be human-centered in all of this? And it's no.
Would you acknowledge the difficulty, the challenge they have, this parliament, because it's a hung parliament? I mean, the
No,
speaker himself
the
said
brains
it in
are
that
still
statement.
the brains have not changed though. It's not about being hanged or not being the same the moving of chairs. The amount of brain, listen, they don't have the mental capacity, number one, because if you have the mental
Hold up. From where I said that's a low blow. Are you saying
It's supposed to
You're
be a low
saying
blow.
parliamentarians don't have the mental capacity?
No, they don't.
You're saying that the 275, 276
this is
people
why-
we have
see, this is
in there
exactly- so
that we selected to go and represent all of
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
they don't have the mental capacity?
Say it again if you want to. I'll give you a chance. You want to say it again? Say it again. Maybe they will hear and they will listen and they won't be able to say anything because that's the truth. And it makes it worse because they're 275. You could bring in Alibaba. You could bring in, well, not Elon Musk. Elon, your times have passed. But you could bring in Mark Zuckerberg or any of these guys, one person, and they could run the whole Ghana. You have 275. They're still twiddling their fingers, biting their fingernails, wanting to split this Ghana up and bring in more people because they think more will give us more. In this world of humanoid robotics and quantum computing and cellular intelligence and augmented reality and all these technologies, you don't need more to get more.
But it's not necessarily about more. It's about what work they do. They are legislators, mind you, first of all. And I think, Kofi Koranteng, that a lot of them will take exception to what you're saying this morning. On the bit of fairness, you have crack academics here. The former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, himself an academic, political science, you have the current Speaker, a doyen in the law, he himself, among other things they've done. I mean, these are people that, in a way, for a number of them, you say, Omwa Bobra. They have been there, done that. You're saying they have no reasoning?
But this is the problem we have as a people. We always look at Wama Bobra. You never look at the effectiveness of the Bobrano. What have they been able to, how have they impacted society? Look at our gutters.
But is that enough to say they are not sentient, they don't think? I feel that's a low blow.
No, it's not a low blow. See, this is a problem. The problem is we never want to accept how bad our situation is. Benjamin, I've learned a lot from you, by the way. So this is partly Benjamin's fault because I listen to him all the time. But anyhow, let's put it
Blame me, right?
But the truth of the matter is, Benjamin, we have to start looking at this and square on and say, what value have you brought to the lives of Ghanaians? What is the unemployment rate? We give away our gold. We give away our oil. We are a petrol importation nation. Everything from Kobe to Gary pricing predicates on oil. We decommissioned Tema Oil Refinery just to give our resources to Sentio. Sentio comes in and sets up the biggest oil refinery in Africa and use our own equipment that we have decommissioned in Tema Oil Refinery to now give us oil. And we know our top, Ben, I learned this from you, our top 3 things imports into Ghana out of the top 5, 3 are petroleum products. Right or right? So you sit on oil, yet your top 5, out of your top 5, 3 are petroleum products, and it's killing your economy because that's how prices are indexed. And then you come in and you say there are 275 of you, and you have the mental capacity to put the country right. Prove that. Prove that. Give me one instance how you could prove that. And I will take this back. I'll take this. Matter of fact, I'll quit running for president. I'm not going. I will refuse. I'll be.
Interesting point, though. Were you about to speak Chi? Were you about to say something? I found that in.
Yeah.
You're about to say something.
See, it's Benjamin is getting the bits and pieces out of me. That is a reflection of his feelings. So if you're watching us today, it's more regurgitating of everything I've learned from Benjamin. So if I say something, blame Benjamin.
Let's take the conversation to elections. We have 25 days, I believe, to go to the elections, and you are guarding your spot as number 10. I mean, you're preaching how, should I say divine it is that you have that number. We just know now that Ikuadonko's party, Father will not be, has been disqualified, and so she remains there, although we don't know if she can win posthumously, but she's on that ballot. How confident are you in the Electoral Commission to deliver a free, fair, credible election in the next 20-something days?
Listen, Ghana, let's be very honest, okay? There is a major problem with the Electoral Commission and how it does things. Let me prove one thing to you. First of all, how would you feel if the electoral commissioners came in and said to you that we are going to print ballots, we want you to pick representatives from your political entity to come and supervise us, because we know that the process is we're out of transparency. Where do you get that in the world?
Is that not a step in the right direction? Because it's come under a lot of controversy, and it is trying to be transparent so that we all follow the processes, so that nobody can, say that the Electoral Commission is corrupt or it's, overly politicized, as influenced. They are showing us everything.
When was the last time you looked over your wallet because your mother came into the room? Why are you smiling? Answer a question. You don't. Let me help you. You know why? Because you trust that your mother is never going to take money out of your pocketbook without your permission.
But if the circumstances demanded or required that you check your wallet because your mother's been to the room, and your mother tries to prove to you that she didn't or has no intentions of taking your money, or she's not, what do you think she is?
So now,
wouldn't you give her the benefits of the doubt?
The analogy is not exactly the same.
No,
there's a trust factor with your mother. And that is also not to say that it's an impossibility, because there are different kinds of mothers, respectfully, and fathers. But in this instance, you're not talking of a mother figure. You're not talking of such a trusted system. Even in the U.S., you have seen the Capitol assault and everything that has happened. Even there, they have checks and balances.
But what I'm saying is this, checks and balances don't come on the inside. It comes on the outside because there are systems. What I'm saying is the problems that we are facing are level 1 problems that could be avoided by just putting in some simple systems.
The fact is, we've not put in place those systems.
So whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
To guarantee trust, fairness, some of these will happen.
We've been here 8 years in the last government. If you know there is a possibility of the populace doubting a system going into an election, why would you wait 8 years and not put into systems? You tell me we haven't put into systems, but why haven't we put into systems? Because it doesn't take 8 years to put in a system. So why haven't we done that? The Electoral Commission comes in and says, the elections are won at the
polling station.
Wow, how do you know?
How do you not know?
So now, if the elections are won at the polling station, you know what they're telling you? Make sure you have your army at the polling stations, because they're going to, So now the cheat came out. So now, Ben, let me say this.
And that's where some of you, as independent, presidential candidates, you may be found wanting because you may not have the manpower to police all of these stations.
Oh, Ben. Why me? Why, Ben? Ben, do it for me. Just, Ben, but this is a problem. You see, so they have systematically disenfranchised all independents because, Ben, if you hire 2 people to sit at almost 42,000 polling stations, you're talking about 82,000 people for one day. How do you pay them? Sweetie, how do you pay them? Because you have not created a system where it's airtight. Now, there will always be a fallout. But what I'm saying is the Electoral Commission should at least have these things all mapped out so we wouldn't have to have parties representing themselves with people just to check a process that you do so well. There is a problem.
Let's conclude on elections, and Ben will usher into the next topic. But so the question is, it's 25 days to go for the elections. In terms of access to information, or the 24 days, in terms of the Electoral Commission's delivering on the mandates to deliver information to you, independent candidates and political parties, do you think they've been fair? And how confident? Let's make it simple. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your confidence level going into this election in 24 days? First, on access to information, has the EC treated you as an independent candidate fairly? And how confident are you?
They haven't treated me fairly. Number one, because of the fact that the balloting system is rigged.
Oh, what makes you say that?
The balloting system was rigged.
No. Okay, so first of all, do I pay 100,000 cedis to get
Yes.
to put in my nomination forms?
Everybody
do I do
did.
that? Oh, really? Everybody? You sure about that, sweetie? So now, if everybody did,
Wait, hold it right there. Are you suggesting some people did not pay that amount?
No, I'm saying that if we did, then we all should be exposed to the same process in picking a ballot.
All right.
Correct?
Okay. I get where you're going now.
So why is it that the candidates, political parties, they give them a special ballot, the filet mignon, pick first, right? And they come in and they give us the strips with all the fat.
But I think that was addressed there. And people said that moving forward, it was something that the EC should consider. The fault then would be that, did you discuss these things with the EC before that balloting process?
No, but it shouldn't. You see, but this is what I'm saying. Who's thinking? When I talk about mental capacity, this is one of these things. Why would you want to separate 2 people? They go through the same nomination forms, pay the same fees, but then when it comes to picking a ballot, you separate them.
No, you missed my point. I'm saying how it was going to take place, like what was going to happen. Was there any interaction between you, the candidates, and the EC before the balloting? So that everybody knows that this is actually what is going to happen.
But guess what? Independent candidates are not allowed into IPAC. That's another problem.
Yeah, that's another bit. Yeah.
Why not?
It's the Constitution didn't make provision for that, did it? It talks about registered political parties.
Yeah, but
so maybe we need to be looking at reviewing that aspect of the Constitution. It doesn't have anything to do with the Electoral Commission.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. This is why, Ghana, Kofi Koranteng is the only one who's going to change the Constitution. Because the Constitution as it is now is Borla. Listen to me.
Kofi Koranteng. Let me just make.
You see, you guys don't want to take. Listen to me.
Hold. Just give me a sec. One, this whole IPAC thing, it's more like a convention. Okay, it's more convention. Let's leave it at that. That is why, again, it's not like whatever happens at IPAC is binding on the EC under any shape or form. Same way you might look at the Council of State, sort of, right? But our Constitution, like it or not, I just don't want you to bastardize everything and say everything.
I'm not. But
if you say it's Borla,
no.
Trash.
So let me finish. Let me qualify what I'm saying.
Okay,
I'm not saying
problems, but Borla, dear.
No. But listen to me, folks. Listen to me. We are at 760 billion cedis of debt. We don't have any industry. We have 275 parliamentarians. We have a system where the executive controls the judiciary, the executive controls the legislature, and this is where Ghana is. Our debt to GDP is 84.9%, Our prime rate is 13.5%. You cannot tell me these numbers are positioned for Ghana to be able to move on as a legitimate working country that creates economic combustion and takes care of its citizens. That will never happen. It will never happen. Guess what document and paperwork allows for this illegality to be legal? The Constitution.
You wouldn't be the first person, Mr. Koranteng, who is suggesting that the Constitution needs a review.
It doesn't need a review. We've done the review. Sweetie, please, let us...
You want to change the entire Constitution?
Listen, the Constitution is a holistic document. So you cannot just change aspects of it. The rest of the document has to be consistent and holistic and synergistic with every part of the document. So when I'm saying the whole Constitution needs to change, it's not saying every line needs to be scraped off for something else to be put in. What I'm saying is for every line that you change, you have to make sure it's consistent with the whole document. And that when I say change, that's what I mean. But there are things like the presidential exemptions need to go. The president cannot have cover. If you steal from the country, you need to be jailed. Okay? Number two, we can't have a president appointing the electoral commissioner, appointing an IGP, appointing an accountant general. We can't. We can't have a president going around appointing over 6,000 positions to executives to run the country. What kind of cassava republic is that? Kokonte Republic, actually.
This morning, I read a story that said Ghana is ranked 6th in Africa in terms of the most attractive places to invest. I think it's right here. I can just look at it briefly. And you're saying we have a Kokonte Republic and all that, but it looks like we're making progress. So it says we are 6th.
Okay,
in terms of the most attractive countries to invest in. I just want to get to that story.
Sweetie, let me...
No, I mean, your posturing sounds as if nothing is working.
No, I'm not
you want
saying that, but I want to get... Listen to me. Listen, sweetie. If Ghana is one of the best places to invest, sweetie, is the money coming to the indigenous Ghanaian? Do you
listening to you.
Do you understand my point? Listen, we haven't built Ghana to allow for the indigenous Ghanaian to succeed. Foreigners are taking over Ghana. I have a problem with that. Because listen, I've traveled all over the world. I have traveled all over the world. They never allow foreigners to take over their country. They position their indigenous citizens to take advantage of the people who are coming in. You see? Now, let me say this. If business has to, give me one business that is a multi-million-dollar business in Ghana that we have maybe 3 top executives who make over $1 million. You can't find one.
Not right now. Nothing comes to my mind right at the moment. But I'm sure if you look, you find
I mean, if
one.
you situate it in the context of the executives, and I'm sure you're talking of Ghanaian executives.
That's correct.
Making over $1 million, then because you know the economic situation and the scale, right? I think it's a bit unfair when you say $1 million. But if you pick the Jospon groups, the Zoom Lions, there are some indigenous entities where top execs are making a lot of money. I wouldn't mention MTN when Selom Adadevo was there because then it's a bit off balance.
So what I'm saying is these are Ghanaian companies. But if you bring in the FDIs and all the companies that have come out of non-Ghanaian, indigenous Ghanaian setups, what you will find, and I've did some research on it, that the top layer of executives are non-Ghanaian.
Can we talk about Magdan for a second? Magdan is a wholly owned Ghanaian company, and I think they're making great strides.
But that's a
and he is Ghanaian, is he not?
Yeah, but that's a wholly owned. You're missing the point. That's a wholly owned Ghanaian company.
Right.
What I'm saying is we have to build a foundation for Ghanaian businesses, AGI, to succeed. We cannot allow for foreign companies to come in, especially when they come in and make the money, and there is no policy to force them to keep at least 70, 80% of their money here.
I see the point you're making. Repatriating, I mean, a lot of them are repatriating funds. And I agree with you to a certain extent.
And that's decimating our financial structure.
I mean, the latest gold mine we've brought on board, a lot of people didn't know it was Chinese. The Cardinal, I think, Namdini mine,
Okay.
all of that. But let me ask you this. It's easy to talk fancy, to wax lyrical about these issues.
Okay.
Let's assume Kofi Koranteng is president. What are you going to do about that? That's it.
All right. So I'll give you top 5 things that I'll do, which is the mega agenda for Ghana. So the mega agenda for Ghana addresses 5 major points, and that's it. Number 1, we have to change the constitution. Okay, we're changing the constitution.
You see, when you say this, I always have to hold you.
Sure.
We are changing the constitution for what? Are you aware of the processes that must be gone through? And in any case, there is a 2010 Constitutional Review Commission, which has done fantastic work on this and where we could go. So a number of things could be done. When you say changing the Constitution,
Okay, so,
it means, are we throwing away the 1992 Constitution
no, I'm not saying
and
that,
getting a new one?
No, what I'm saying is this, when you say there is a fabulous commission, that's, so what? I mean, so...
The recommendations are there. Have you read them?
I know of the recommendations.
Okay.
I made some of the recommendations, and
Right.
it's in the Constitution.
So-
but what I'm saying is this, to what point? Has that been implemented?
So what are you saying? No, I'm just trying to get the letter of what you're saying.
No,
if you say you're changing, are you throwing away the entirety of the
No,
thing?
I'm not throwing away the entirety of, but what I'm saying is most of the document would have to be consistent with all the other changes we're going to make, and some of the changes are what I've just enlisted. But when you come out and you make a point that, oh, we have a commission that, so what? What have they been able to do? How has that affected? Atta Mills came, God bless his soul, he made an attempt to change it, he got hammered down by his own parliament, right? And what happened? Everybody stopped. Muhammad came, he didn't go forward with it. Why didn't he? Reviews were there, so what point are you making?
Some of them have shown, well, they say if they come back, they will do some of
Yeah,
these
it's
things.
always if they come back.
How about you? That's
why I'm changing it. It doesn't work for Ghanaians, and Ghanaians need to understand, listen, we have legalized criminality in this country. We need to... my axe is going to come down on people. I'm telling you, literally. Okay, so let me go over the top 5 things so you can understand. Number 1, we're changing the Constitution. Are you telling me about process? I know the process. The process, what it needs to take to change the Constitution, I know. Ultimately, it's not going to, in Parliament, thank God, it's going to be a referendum. So we know all that, where it needs to go, the Council of State and the
Right. So first you change the constitution. Let's get
we change
to
the
that.
Constitution. Number 2, we eradicate corruption.
How?
We're going, what do you mean how? Okay, we're going to change it at 3 levels. Criminally, administratively, and psychologically. Criminally, we're going back all the way to, we're rolling back the clock to 67 years ago. If you've caused financial loss to the state and we have a way to trace any loss of capital to you, you're paying us back with interest and penalties, and you go into jail. Are you smiling? Just make sure you haven't caused.
When you're done with this, I have a question to ask on well, you finish listing.
Okay,
things.
so number 2, we're rolling back. Listen, we're going to truncate corruption. There's no president who is going to be successful in Ghana, regardless of what you do, everything you want to do, bring Ghana, da-da-da-da-da, if you don't eradicate corruption, because corruption is eating us at the core. You need to change, you need to eradicate corruption. Number 2.
Hold for me. Eradicate corruption?
Yeah.
There's corruption everywhere.
See, this is the weakness of mind.
Hold for me. It's not about weakness of mind. It's about, when you say eradicate, you are being...
Consciousness is to
you are
eradicate.
being superfluous.
No,
even in Japan, one of the most conservative. I am not pushing for corruption. I'm merely saying that be careful what you say.
No, I'm very careful.
You remember Kufuor? Zero tolerance for corruption. And then in the end, what we heard was corruption has been with us since the days of Adam.
That's a bad example, so don't talk. Anyway, let's move forward. But let me explain something to you. My background is engineering. When you want to fly a space shuttle into space, you don't say, I'm looking to bring it maybe to the moon and then see what happens. Specificity is paramount.
You want to go empirical with corruption.
What I am saying is this, the consciousness to what we are doing is to bring corruption to zero. Now, we know we are human beings. We know wherever you do, whatever systems you employ, there's going to be some amount of corruption. We know that. But when it happens, guess what happens? The axe comes down simultaneously. It's almost going to be non-existent. Now, so that's the consciousness.
Okay,
and so
we're going to have to wrap in a bit. The last 3 points quickly, and I have a quick one for you.
So number 3, institute a national development plan for the next 50 years. Okay, mandatory.
Is this going to be in line with the work, already done work of the National Planning Commission, Development Planning Commission?
They haven't done anything.
Mind you, they have an agenda 2057, Ghana at 100. They already have something like that.
They haven't done anything. And plus, and let me tell you why that's another useless commission. Let me tell you. You guys don't understand. And listen, they're a useless commission because they haven't been able to enforce any agenda on any government. Every government comes in with a manifesto.
They don't have the power to do that.
But this is what I'm saying. If you don't have the power to do that, what on earth is your value? Why create something that you don't have the power to enforce? What is wrong with us?
The last two then. The last two, quickly.
So we are going to make it mandatory that every government that comes into power, you have got to go with the National Development Plan. Or you don't have a government. How about that?
Okay.
The last is we're going to reduce government by 73%, make it effective, efficient, and functional. And the last is invest $10 billion into agriculture for the next 10 years into a drone-controlled mechanized farming.
How are you getting the money?
The money's in your pocket. We're taking it out.
Taxes?
No. We're going to go walk away from taxes. What we're going to do is, if the Accountant General have told us that we have stolen from ourselves $3 to $4 billion every year, then in the last 32 years, we know we have 96 billion somewhere. We're going to go to the paper trail. We're going to go to taxes. Listen, only 30% of people who work in Ghana pay taxes. So you have to implement what we call an integrated national ID and address system, port that into a national data repository system so that everybody who makes any kind of income in Ghana, you're able to track. Let me tell you another big problem. Right now, 80% of everybody who works in Ghana is in the micro, small, and medium enterprises. 90% of that is in the informal sector. Smart. They come in and talk to us about digitization. Why don't you digitize so you can move people from the informal to the formal so we can know exactly how much you're making?
So here's the question I want to ask you. You've basically bastardized everybody. You
were 760 billion.
I know, just hold on for me.
That's why this is.
You think even the National Development Planning Committee, everybody is just useless, according to you. What have you done as an individual, as a business executive, either in your personal life or professional life, that you can show?
Okay.
For which reason you think that if we give you the mandates, because I have done A, B, C with my life, I can turn around the status quo in this country?
All
briefly,
right.
And then we'll go.
Very good. So I've been a principal for 24 years, a principal in the most regulated industry in the world, the American financial system. So I was supervised by the Securities and Exchange Commission and FINRA, which is the regulatory organization, agency in America. Not one, not even a warning, 24 years. The record is public. So you could pull it up. That's number one. That's the kind of credibility that I bring. When I say I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm talking about. I've studied systems. I did it with the biggest company at the time in the world, which was Citigroup. Okay, so I work with Keith Cunningham. You could pull his record directly. I've worked with Steve Barger and Sandy Weil. Sandy Weil was who created Jamie Dimon, who runs JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, and now. So these are people that I've worked with hand in hand. Now, in Ghana, let me tell you what I brought into Ghana. The first toll systems.
Yes, but for the sake of time, we're asking the bottom line. What has been your contribution? And even here in Ghana, I'm happy you're coming to Ghana. What can you say? Put your hand on your chest and say, I have done this, and so given the opportunity, I can do it on a bigger scale. I agree with you. A country is like a small, it's like a bigger,
of, yeah.
you know,
Well, but
form
this is what I'm saying.
of a company. So show us.
I've managed over $100 million under management, under my account. Not a hair got off. For maybe 15 years, I was the supervisor for 24. You with me? So my assets under management will prove. My clients will prove. So when you talk about a job, a position like a president, there are two things: performance and character, trust. And that's what I have. And that's what none of these people have.
Okay, so right before we go, we do have to go. Are you winning this presidential election?
Listen, Ghana for, like Benjamin always say, Ghana for. So I take it from Benjamin again. Ghana for. If we want Ghana to change, actually scratch that, transform into a totally new Ghana where the foundation that has been built for the last 67 years, which has caused us all this problem, is going to be demolished and built anew. For a new Ghana to be put up, then you need Kofi Koranteng. I know that when you listen to me, it's almost like it makes you cringe because I speak from a position that you haven't heard before. But this is exactly what we need, Ghana. Ghana, we have a problem in housing. Our housing is a problem. Our healthcare is a problem. Our jobs are a problem. Our education it's not relevant. Our security is a problem. Transportation is a problem. It's all Borla, 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 Borla.
Okay.
I am your official Borla man. I'm going to clean out the Borla. Nobody can clean out the Borla than Kofi Koranteng. That's why you need to vote for number 10. This is it. If Ghana must change, Kofi Koranteng number 10, official Borla man.
Thank you
Good
so
morning.
much, Kofi Koranteng.